Hi Aries, Happy New Year! This is your astrology prediction for January 2015 with me, Lada, from Astrolada.com, where you can find out my birth chart calculator, for which I'm putting a link. You can find out what your ascendant sign is, which is always very important to check when you're listening to your prediction. Not only the sun sign, but the ascendant sign is much more personal. If you know your time of birth, of course, because the ascendant sign is dependent on the time of birth. And you can also find astrologers and psychics that I have personally scouted from all over the world because of their high quality work. They are available 24 hours for you, and I personally guarantee the quality of their work. So what is January 2015 holding for you, Aries? Let's start with, there are a few big events that are happening. First of all, Uranus and the South Node, which shows past lives, are joining in the sky in your sign, in Aries. And this is happening around, those of you who are born from around the 15 to around 11 degrees, 15 to around 11 degrees ascendant or moon in Aries. So basically, if your sun or if you're born around the 2nd to around the 6th of April, but many areas can feel it, not only those that I pointed out, because it is happening, this conjunction of the planet, of the point of past lives with Uranus is happening in your sign, in Aries. So not only those, specifically those ones that I pointed with those degrees or those days that they're born will feel it, but all areas or other areas can also experience it. And what does it mean? Uranus is the planet of awakening, sudden realization. And it joins with the South Node very rarely, once in I don't know how many years, might be 50, no, less, 20 years, once in 19 years or something like that. And the South Node is past lives or something from the past. So there might be like a sudden awakening of some past life issue even, or some issue from you, from the past that comes back to you. Especially in January, it might continue into February, it might start even from December that you start feeling this. But definitely something is awakening, something is resurrecting itself from the past that you have to deal with now and to fully cut connections with it, because Uranus also is the planet of sudden awakenings and sudden disconnections. So you have the opportunity, and it's a rare opportunity, the start of this year, to end with something that wakens up from the past, that's been haunting you, or even it might be a past life issue that's been recurring in your life, and to finally be able to release it and let go of it. And what better time than the start of the year? So for you, Aries, it's good to make New Year's resolutions, to end with something old. Particularly resolutions that are completion of something from the past and fully letting it out of your life. And you can have a sudden realization that it's time to let go of something from the past. And sudden release, because Uranus is the planet of freedom and being released from something from the past, from some issue that comes to you from the past. So, it happens in your first house, in your own sign. So it might be so many different things, I cannot pinpoint exactly what area of life it's going to be, but it's definitely something that you have the chance, a rare opportunity now, Aries, to release. And there is another big event that is happening. Mercury, the planet of communications, of business, of arranging things, of the practical daily activities, which is so important planet, is going to stay for about 2 months in your 11th house, because it's going to start moving backwards, being retrograde. And retrograde means from the Earth we see it moving backwards, and then it first starts moving forwards in your 11th house. It reaches somewhere to the 18th degree of Aquarius, which is in your 11th house of friendships, and start going backwards, which means revision or something from the past coming to you. And then it starts moving forwards again. But this will be one process which starts in January and finishes only by the start of March. And this will be a process of maybe someone from the past coming into your life. Usually these are friends, because 11th house rules friendships. People that maybe you haven't heard for a while, friends getting in touch with you from the past, or you having to revise certain relationships with people and work on them somehow, because planet going retrograde really focuses us and our attention in the house. It becomes retrograde and demands more of our effort, but after that, if we put more effort there, it gives us better results. What it means, so you have a chance to improve some relationship, a friendship relationship in particular, a relationship with a benefactor in some way, because 11th house rules benefactors, those people who want to help us, those people that believe in us. Some important conversations might be happening with such people. And usually when a planet starts moving retrograde, so maybe in January, from the end of January and part of February, there might be some kind of even a bit of a crisis that first happens, that has to be resolved. And when it's resolved by March, this relationship becomes much stronger and more productive in a sense. 11th house also rules gains from business, because 10th house is your business, your work. 11th house is bonuses, recognition, the salary you receive. So you might be, some of you working in completing some project or having to put much more energy in some project which will lead you to more recognition from peers or from your career, or can bring more income into your business, especially if you're someone who is self-employed, or if you're not. The kind of process that you're doing now in January and February, or some kind of project that you're doing, might have a big impact and say on promotion, or on some kind of a recognition at work, or some kind of a increased income, even like a bonus. So definitely your skills will be required, your ability to negotiate, because Mercury is conversation, negotiation, your skills which are communicative, or which are skills of writing, or skills of whatever business skills, or whatever kind of business you're involved in, or work or activity. It's all Mercury activities. Mercury is how we produce something practical, how we arrange and manage our affairs. And it's definitely connected to some kind of titles or honors or bonuses or gains, because 11th house rules gains. So you'll be required to put more hard work in doing such projects, but by March you'll start seeing the payoff of this hard work. So don't get discouraged if things get a little bit slowed or a little bit more demanding in that area in regards to projects. And 11th house also rules long-term goals. So definitely you might have to revise some long-term goals, and you have to restructure them somehow, or put more skill into making them happen. And by the end of this process in March, you might be a step closer to having to achieving, a step closer to achieving one of those goals and long-term dreams that you have. For example, I'm an Aries sun, and exactly in January and February, I will be completing and basically finishing a project, a teaching project. Basically, it will be 80 videos on relationships, everything that I know about the astrology of relationships. And this is the period exactly when I will be required to work very hard and to use all my managing skills, all my communicative skills, to revise the videos I have done, to put them into right shape, and to complete this project, which might be on the market, I'm hoping by February. So I'm giving you an example how this retrograde Mercury can work in your 11th house. And this can gain you by the time the retrograde movement finishes, by the end of February. Again, as we said, more recognition, more financial gains, and more or some kind of a bonus. And also people who 11th house rules titles and honors and diplomas. So some of you might have to put more work and more use more of your skills, the best of your skills, in regards to gaining such a title, in regards to completing some diploma, some honor. And your efforts, always a retrograde planet requires more hard work, but when its retrograde movement is finished, it pays off. The results are much more satisfying and deeper and longer lasting. So this is what you can, don't get scared. People tell you don't do anything on a retrograde Mercury, everything goes wrong. It's not true. Actually, this is when you work much harder, because these things from the past, some projects maybe you're completing, something you have to revise, something you have to make sure everything is on the dot. And some problems, of course, always can appear. And that's why people feel scared when Mercury is retrograde, because those problems of it takes longer time, it takes more effort. But by the time this process is completed, you come out with the results are much more satisfying and deeper, and you're much more fulfilled with what you've done. Okay, so this is one of the things, and again, as I said, maybe communications with friends from the past, and or you have to resume some kind of a relationship and revise it and reassess some of your friendships, because Mercury moving retrograde in your 11th house of friendships. You might have to revise some of these relationships and improve them or let them go. Another important thing that is happening is that Mars, from around the middle of the month, is going into your 12th house, and it will stay there for about a month and a half. So basically for January, from the middle of January to almost the end of February. And this happens once every 2.5 years only. So once in 2.5 years you get this energy. What does it mean? Mars is action. 12th house is the last house. It's house of completion, of endings. So you might be ending again some kind of action, some kind of might be project, some activity that you've been doing, that you might be completing it and letting go of it slowly, you know, starting from the middle of January, or starting to see the results of some activity that you've been doing for the past almost 2 years, 2-3, might be 2 years in a sense. That is, you're seeing what the results, because 12th house rules the results, the completion, and you choose whether to keep doing this activity. By the end of February, you'll know whether to keep doing this activity, if it's productive, if it's giving good results, or whether to let it go. But 12th house is also a hidden house, and Mars is the planet of action, so there might be some hidden, underhanded actions that some of you might be doing. On the positive scale, you might be doing some surprise for someone, you know, some activity that will surprise others. So maybe some activities that you cannot officially proclaim to others yet, that you're working a bit behind the scenes on preparing something, and you cannot, you know, yet fully, you know, fully announce those activities. But on the negative side, it might have to do with some underhanded action. So I warn you, from the middle of January, do not get involved yourself in gossip, in any kind of backstabbing, in any kind of intrigues, because these will backfire. Mars is a cruel planet. You might be tempted to do this. You might be tempted to, you know, get involved with such kind of, even talking for someone bad behind their back, or undermining them. But this thing, in the long run, can have negative consequences for you. But actually, if you're doing any activities from the middle of January to almost to the end of February, you can do hidden secret activities. They will not be found out by others, because Mars is hidden. Your planet of actions is hidden. So you might even be having some, you know, if you're sneaking out, even for some affair, or it doesn't have to be something dark and bad, or, you know, or something that can be judged, but it will not be found out. And sometimes people need to have such periods where the activities are not fully out there for everyone to see. And also it's activities which are more private, which are more emotionally centered, which are more to do with your inner world. Maybe some of you might do meditation, some of you might go, you know, some kind of exercises for relaxation, for letting go of stress. These will be very useful. You might find yourself from the middle of January that you're focusing on such activities which are more relaxing. But on the other hand, Mars is the planet of initiative, and 12th house is ending. So if you start trying new initiatives, something like big new projects that you're trying new to start from the beginning, you might not find your strength yet. It might be just more time for planning it, for contemplating it. You might find that circumstances around you are so spinned or so arranged that you are not able to, you know, lead them with your willpower, which is Mars, in the direction that you want. So it's kind of more circumstances and events and activities that are happening and that you're involved in are already predetermined from previous actions of yours. While Mars was in the past 2 years in other houses where it has more, you know, where you have more say how you direct your willpower. But when it goes into the 12th house, it all goes into the hands of the universe, in the hands of God, so to speak. So it's a good advice for you from the middle of January also to let go and let God, and to more observe the results of activities you've already started doing or completing such activities, or as I said, revising some projects that you've been working on with Mercury retrograde, making sure that everything is fine, that you're not missing something, that you're not missing the details of it. And on the most negative side, Mars in the 12th house, Mars is enemies, and 12th house is invisible. So just some of you, it doesn't have to happen for all of you, but some of you, if already have such indications in their horoscope, might have some underhanded action against them happening. And they might not, and you will not be very much aware of it, but you feel like maybe someone is undermining you, someone or something beyond your control is having influence on you in some way, you know. It might be even the invisible worlds that are doing that. But on the least negative, on the most negative, it's someone, an enemy, or someone who dislikes you, who is undermining you and doing something behind your back. Or on the positive side, it's that God takes over, and activities that you've put into action from before, they're kind of, the ball is rolling there, and you're seeing the unveiling of those activities. Okay, let's go. Let's carry on. And especially I wanted to be careful with such underhanded activities around the middle of the month, around the 15th of January, maybe a few days before, a few days after, because Mars in your 12th house of secret, hidden activities and enemies receives a difficult aspect. Or if you're doing some hidden activities, be careful about this time, about the middle of January, because these actions can create some problem, or you can create even some accidents in some way. But otherwise, everything else is okay. And there is another wonderful... Okay, let me see, sorry. What else is happening? The Sun is in your 10th house for most of January, which means career is also, activities of career are quite busy, with involvement with authority figures as well. And after the 20th of January, this starts, you know, the focus starts shifting as well. Quite a few planets are everywhere dispersed in the chart. Okay, and last but not least, I want to give a few days to some of you. Those of you who have their ascendant or their moon in Aries from around 17 to around 22 degrees in Aries are having very auspicious Jupiter influence. Jupiter is starting to move backwards again towards those degrees from 22 till 17 degrees in Aries, or those basically who are born from around the 7th, 8th, to around the 13th of April, 7th, 8th of April to around the 13th of April. They're having this very powerful, positive Jupiter activity and influence in their life, opportunities, maybe which you probably started from the past, from the previous month, start giving results, starts unfolding more. Some kind of opportunities are coming to you when you're trying your best to do so. Even without trying best, God brings you new developments, brings you new opportunities, opens doors for you. And it might be to do with your career, it might be to do with your personal life as well, but definitely you feel much more enthusiastic, full of faith, full of confidence about your skills. And Jupiter is moving backwards, which means that it's optimism and it's growth. It's kind of internalized more. You feel more, even if you still don't see fully the result outside, you feel that things are happening as they should be, that you're at the right place, and you'll be at the right place at the right time. You'll be lucky. You'll be lucky. You can increase wealth, you can increase life opportunities, you can have more clarity about situations in your life. So very, very positive influence for those of you who are born around those, you know, degrees or those days. So this is what I see for you, Aries, at the beginning of 2015 in January. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.